What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today's video is all about why aren't millennials buying cars. Now, before I get into the video, I have to make one major disclaimer. If you were born from 1981 to 1996, you are a millennial. That's right. Take a moment, let it sink in. You are a millennial. If you don't believe me, you can use Google, you can search it yourself. So before you start talking trash and say, well, they're just kids, or they're targeting people, I fall in the same demographic as well, so I feel your pain. But don't worry about it. Like I said, this is going to be a fun educational video. It's going to show you some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So the inspiration behind this video was I got off a conference call this morning with a bank talking about the demographics of who's buying cars, what types of loans they're getting, terms, rates, and everything else. And one thing we noticed is the millennial demographic doesn't have half as much loans on the books compared to other demographics. So I figured I would make a really good detailed video and talk about why I believe this is. Now, if you watch TV, CSNBC, or Graham Stephan or me, Kevin, they always talk about what's thing called millennial money. It's what's going on in the world today about people actually, millennials spending their money in different ways. So I want to give you the reasons why I believe that the millennial market for cars is disappearing a lot faster than everyone else, and why I believe it's going to get much, much worse. But before I do, if you could do me one huge favor and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps me find more amazing people like yourselves that enjoy automotive content. Also, if you consider subscribing, I post epic stuff like this all the time, and also click the notification bell. And without any more shameless plugging, let's get into the video. I'm going to give you guys my top 10 reasons on why millennials are not buying cars. Number one is the movement from doing traditional jobs at home to a brick and mortar to working online. So during the pandemic, we saw a huge movement of people no longer working in the actual stores or offices, but working online. And that's transitioned into 2021. Here in Vegas alone, I've seen a lot of companies take the position of actually switching down their overhead to get rid of a store office or a storefront, do everything online. Their employees will take a little bit less money because they don't have to travel, they don't have to use their gas, everything else. And this is causing a major movement of people needing cars. Let's say if you're a two-family household, you're husband and wife, and you guys are traveling back and forth to work, you need two cars. But if you're both working from home, you can get away with just one car. So these little things made a huge change in the automotive market, and that's one of the things that I've noticed. Now, the second reason why people are not buying cars is the rise of Uber and Lyft. I personally saw the damage that this did to the used car market myself during my dealership days. We had people that, didn't want to walk down the street. They had to go down, get groceries every now and then to go visit friends. And so they needed a vehicle. They didn't want to take the bus. They didn't want to take a cab. It was too expensive. So they were forced to save up, maybe $2,000, $3,000, buy a cheap cash car, or they would put $1,000 down on a used car. Well, when this app came into being, now people can go down the street for $5, $6, go across town and visit their family for $20, and it made it much more accessible. Now that people have this type of thing, they don't need credit, they don't need credit cards, they just need a few bucks in their bank account and they can make it happen. And that's one of the major reasons why it's so popular with millennials, because they don't want to take the risk of adding on more debt, more interests, more payments, more liabilities, when they can just get on an app, spend $6, $7, drive down the street to the local pub, have a few cocktails with their friends, and head home. So that's why I believe that reason number two is all about the rise of Uber and Lyft. Reason number three, our new car prices are too damn high. A lot of franchise stores don't have what they used to have in the 80s and 90s. Now back then, if you made $8 to $10 an hour, you could actually afford to buy a new vehicle. But nowadays, all the franchises don't make starter cars. When we were in high school, there was the Geo Metro, there was, a lot of these basic economy car entry-level cars, where if you go nowadays, if you want to get like a Nissan Sentra, it's $20,000. There's no more $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 cars. Everything brand new is very expensive. And if you want a mid-size regular family sedan, nothing fancy, you're looking at upwards of $30,000 just to get in there. And with people coming out into the job market, especially what it is today, millennials can't afford to take on that type of debt because it's just too much. So if they want to get a decent, nice, mid-size Camry, that with a little few bells and whistles, and they have to pay $38,000 to $45,000 for that, it's just not worth it. So new car prices are way too high. franchise stores took away all the starter vehicles, so there's nothing there for people to really kind of ladder up on. And I don't know if you guys heard, Ford is no longer making a lot of their newer economy vehicles. They're only going to make the Mustang, I believe one other actual car, and everything else is going to be SUVs, which we know that there's not a single SUV under $35,000 that's out there that's brand new. So these changes in the market are hurting and affecting this demographic to purchase vehicles. And it's taking away the people that love these particular manufacturers, of what's called brand loyalty. So usually, if the guy buys a Cadillac, he's usually a Cadillac buyer for life, or buys a Chevy, or buys, whatever else the case is. They become brand recognition, or loyalty buyers that keep continuing to buy, and little by little, they're getting rid of those people because they can't afford to get into the market. Number 4 is used car prices. Once again, they're too damn high because of the pandemic and the shortage of actual cars out there on the market. It's caused the used car market ever. And I mean, this is the first time in history where cars are worth more today than they were a year ago. Now, we see bumps, when it comes to tax season and stuff like that, but I did the personal numbers on my vehicle. When I bought my car last year with 12,000 miles compared to now with 30,000 miles, my car is worth more now with more miles than it was a year and a half ago that I bought it. That is insane. Like I said, this is the first time in history that this ever happened. Now, it's because of a perfect storm. We had vehicle production shut down all over the world, not just here in America. So there was a shortage of new cars. Everybody got this stimulus money, so everybody was out buying all these cheap cash cars, because they had the available money. But then now, these people are not going out and selling their cars because they don't need to, because they have the extra money that they did before. And so usually the millennials will go out and buy something cheap cash cars, or maybe this, and now the prices are going up and up and up, and it's making it too hard to afford a regular vehicle. So this is another reason why people are just not buying cars as much as they used to coming into 2021. Reason number 5 is cost of maintenance. The cost to service your cars have just astronomically skyrocketed. The shortage of mechanics that are out in the automotive industry is huge. So most repair shops are about $125 to $130 an hour. Franchise stores are probably anywhere from $120 all the way up to $300 an hour. So if you're going into the job market and you're trying to buy a car and then you have to service it, millennials don't want to have that type of burden, where they have to service their car all the time. Everything else, it's much cheaper for them just to get on the application, order an Uber or a Lyft or something like that, and be done with it. So, the cost of maintenance, the cost of parts, everything else has pretty much doubled since the pandemic. So it's making it much, much harder for people to afford these types of costs. Reason number 6 is Turo and other rideshare apps. These particular apps give people the accessibility to rent a vehicle if they need to. So let's say you live in downtown New York, you got public transit, you don't need anything, but let's say your mom and dad are coming to visit you. With Turo, it gives you the accessibility to rent a van or a car for the day, just for that one day, so you can take your family out, show your friends. Maybe you want to take a car on a road trip, you want to go to the beach here in LA or San Diego, and you want to drive from Vegas. Turo gives you that accessibility. So a lot more millennials are like, why do I need to buy a car when I can just get on this application, rent a car for the days that I need it, and not carry that monthly overhead, expenses that I normally have. So because of these apps like Turo, Hire Car, Share, and a few of these other ones, it's giving people the accessibility of having cars without having the monthly maintenance, the monthly expenses, and the overhead that's involved with purchasing a vehicle. Reason number 8 is millennial pay. Now, unfortunately, our generation has gotten a lot less pay increases than our previous predecessors. So if you came in the job market from the 1980s to the 1990s, you were seeing an average increase of 3% per year, where compared to nowadays, you're looking at 0.3% per year in job wage increase. But the cost of goods keep going up and up. Education, cost of living, cost of everything has just gone up, while our pay has basically stayed the same this whole particular time from 2000 to 2015. So it's a very scary demographic of unfortunately seeing how much the costs have risen compared to what we've made. And just because of that, I see a lot less millennials purchasing vehicles. Reason number 9 is insurance and loans. So from 10 years ago, your insurance premium is almost doubled now. And there's a few factors behind that. One of the reasons why is it costs more money to fix your car. So compared to what it was 10 years ago, you know, like I said, parts are almost doubled. The actual cost of replacing a car is almost doubled. So now insurance companies have to compensate for that. So they're charging, like I said, almost double the premiums. Also, in our generation, there's a lot of lawyers out there suing the hell out of everybody. So now you have this massive cost of burden of everybody suing everybody, trying to get rich. So that also adds onto there. On top of that, you have a lot of states that have dramatically increased their costs of minimal liability coverage. So once again, those costs get passed on to the consumer, which is us, and you have to pay almost double. So, you know, when you hear your parents say, well, I pay $30 a month for my Volvo for full coverage, where somebody like you or me, if we have, let's say, a fully loaded Toyota Camry, you're looking at $150 to $200 in full coverage insurance, which is crazy. But that's some of the stuff that you're gonna have to pay with insurance, and that's why I believe millennials are not buying as much because of that. Now, on the loan side, you know, when your mom and dad bought a car, it was no big deal. They can go down to their local bank, hey, I'm a new person, I want to buy a car, and they would give them maybe an 8 to 12% interest rate because they wanted to try them out because they didn't know if they're going to be a good consumer or a bad consumer. Well, nowadays, banks love to use these risk data loss things where they're judging you against all these other people. So if you're a newcomer and you're trying to buy a car, traditionally you'd be able to get, you know, a decent, you know, single-digit auto loan for your first time buying. But now every new buyers or first-time buyers program is 18 to 22%. And then on top of that, they're bootstrapping and you're saying you can't buy a cheap used car. They don't want you to buy anything with old or high miles. They want you to buy something new. So it's like they're pushing you into debt even more than what they normally do because they want to see you get a newer car. So now you're forced to buy a car that's maybe $30,000, $40,000 that you didn't really want because those are the only cars they want to lend on without a massive down payment. So it's forcing millennials into this thing of getting into debt, which leads us to our final and last reason why millennials are not buying as many cars as what the other generations are, is debt. So the grand finale, reason number 10 on why millennials are not buying cars is, drumroll, bone-crushing debt. The average student loan debt that a millennial carries is $42,000. Now, if we were to compare that with your parents, of their average student loan debt from 1970 to 1989 is a little over $2,200 to $4,000. And right now, if a millennial goes in the job market with $42,000 in debt, they get an average, you know, decent paying job of $15 to $20 an hour, they're left with a very tough choice. Do you want to buy a brand new car or do you want to buy a house? Now, there's a YouTuber named Graham Stephan, I'll leave a link to his channel down below, does a great video on why millennials are not buying houses, and it's very similar to what I'm doing with the automotive space and talking about why millennials are not buying cars. And both of these things are tied hand in hand because it all goes to your DTI, your debt to income ratio. When you go for an auto loan, that's something that us, the dealership, and the banks look at. When you go buy a house, it's the exact same thing. So now millennials are faced with, you know, do I buy a nice car or do I buy a house? And I don't think anybody should have to choose from that, but these are some of the reasons why millennials are not buying as many vehicles as they are now. So if you guys can do me a huge favor and smash the like button if you felt like you've learned anything, I truly appreciate it. If you guys have any more subjects on what you want me to do, please put it in the comment section below. I answer every single one. Comments, questions, if you want to put like, toast, I'd buy that for $1. We all want to bring that back. It's been pretty funny. I've seen a few of you guys still keeping up with all the other videos. I truly appreciate it. Also, if you can subscribe, I post epic stuff like this all the time. I would truly appreciate that. Also, clicking notification bell. Also, if you follow us on Instagram at automotive.life, I post really funny stuff there daily. We're way more popular on Instagram than I am on YouTube, so definitely check us out there. And I want to thank you guys so much again. The channel's been growing exponentially. We've gotten a lot of calls, a lot of emails. Thank you guys so much for the support. I truly appreciate it. And I'm going to do my best to bring you the best content I can 3 times a week. We'll see you next time.